We are in Miami, and the chase for the wild card begins now. DJ LeMahieu and Gio Urshela are both dealing with minor injuries and are day-to-day, but the Yankees have rolled out a pretty solid lineup tonight. Gleyber Torres is leading off. He is your shortstop tonight. In right field, Joey Gallo making his Yankees debut, first Yankee to wear number 13 since A-Rod. In center field, Aaron Judge returns to the site where he won the Home Run Derby in 2017. Anthony Rizzo is the Yankees' number 4 hitter tonight. He is at first base. He will wear number 48. Giancarlo Stanton blowing the dust off of his glove. He is out there in left field. Rougned Odor been swinging better lately. He is at second base tonight. Gary Sanchez is behind the dish. And Tyler Wade will play third base tonight. And on the mound, the resurgent Jameson Taillon has been very good in his last few starts. He's made 19 starts on the season this year. He is 6-4 with a 4.36 ERA, 95 innings, 93 strikeouts, 1.242 whip on the season. He has really turned it around. Need a big start from him. The playoff hunt begins now. Let's get it on. Hey, how's it going, everybody? A lot of stuff to talk about tonight. I hope you guys are getting over that trade deadline hangover. Yankees traded for Andrew Heaney today, decided not to trade Luke Voit, and tonight was the Yankees debut for Joey Gallo and Anthony Rizzo. It was also the season debut in the outfield for Giancarlo Stanton. He played left field. I'm surprised he remembered where it was, to be honest. Interesting tidbit before the game, Cashman said that he tried to trade for Joey Gallo during spring training but didn't get it done. I wonder what the offer was. You know, did he end up paying more or less? That would have been an interesting question to ask. Also, be sure to vote for the winner of the belt, and we will award it when I'm done with the recap. A lot of candidates tonight. Jameson Taillon was really good. Rougned Odor had the big 2-run single, and of course, Anthony Rizzo. And one last comment before I get started. My buddy came over and watched the game with me, and we were talking about this. How do you guys feel about Aaron Boone never wearing the jersey? For an organization that prides itself on being so professional, he kind of looks like a slob that just woke up in his blue and gray Yankees pajamas. I don't know. Just my opinion. Would love to read yours after the recap. Let's go. And Joey Gallo struck out in his first at-bat. Rizzo walked in his first at-bat. Rizzo also made a nice play early on in the game to stretch for a wild throw. Yanks left men on base in the first, so it's good to see some things don't change, right? Both offenses were quiet early. Top of the sixth, Anthony Rizzo hits a mammoth home run, 449 feet, 112 miles an hour off the bat.
That ball is high. It is far. It is gone.
Really nice outing for Jameson Taillon. 5 2/3, 5 hits, no runs, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. His ERA is down to 4.11. He's been awesome lately. Sparkling play for Gleyber Torres to end the bottom of the sixth. He also made a really nice play in the hole earlier in the game, kind of threw across his body. But then he got ejected in the top of the seventh. When you have 0 backup infielders, really bonehead play by Gleyber there to say whatever he said that got him tossed. But I will say this, huge play to get out of that inning. DJ had to come into the game and play hurt. Urshela ended up coming in later, picking up a base hit. So both guys who were hurt ended up back in the game. Top of the eighth, Judge got hit by a pitch from Blyer, his former teammate, I believe, and he kind of stared him down and said something. Absolute last guy I would want coming out is Aaron Judge. I'm pretty sure he could fold up Blyer into like a nicely packed sphere if he wanted to. Urshela did get that pinch hit single in the top of the eighth. So both guys who initially out of the starting lineup forced into action tonight. And big hit from Rougned Odor. 2-out single, put the Yankees up 3-0. Nestor Cortez had to actually run the bases for Urshela because his hamstring was tight. And he ended up getting, kind of having to scramble back to second base. He looked kind of silly, but hey, is what it is. Zach Britton came in for the bottom of the eighth. His velocity was down again. 91s, 92s, gave up a run, got a double play. And then Gallo lined out to first in the ninth inning. He takes the collar on the night. Yanks hold on to win 3-1.
Ball game over. Yankees win. The Yankees win.
And we got our first super chat of the night from Mr. SB Games.
SB Games spends way too much money on me.
Great comment here. Said that SB Games is not affected by the luxury tax. So I want to hear what you guys thought about Gallo and Rizzo. I'll just give you my quick impressions on Anthony Rizzo first. Obviously, huge night for him. Huge debut. That home run was absolutely destroyed. I love his swing. It's very compact. He's got a big leg kick. And when I watched him with the Cubs, I didn't really watch him as closely as I do now. But that leg kick, I always thought was too big, but it's perfect. He gets it down early, and he gets his hands nice and separated, and then he just drives them right through the zone. Very, very quick hands. We saw him shoot a ball to left field yesterday on my live stream when we were talking about acquiring him. I mentioned how many singles he hits to left field. He uses the entire field. And judging by the votes here, I'm seeing that it's coming down to Rizzo and Tyone. So last chance, get your votes in. It's looking, we got Rizzo for the belt. We got Rizzo for the belt. Ashlyn says Tyone for the belt. Shabutsky says Rizzo for the belt. I think we have a winner, ladies and gentlemen.
Bet winner.
All right, so we're going to take down Jordan Montgomery, who was holding on from his great outing, and we're going to make the belt debut for Anthony Rizzo. Let me kill this ad in the background here. All right. So it's going to be odd. Alexander Patton says Voit should be our DH every day. Stanton needs to ride the pine. It is going to be interesting when Voit comes back, how they choose to do that. I think you can play Judge in center field. I think you could play Gallo in center field. And I think that's part of the reason that they went out and got Gallo. That way you can just kind of alternate those guys. And you could put Giancarlo Stanton in left field sometimes. You can use Greg Allen if you need to give him a day off. Luke Voit has been hurt so often that I'm thinking you don't need to play him as much as they did before he got hurt. Luke WS says, I'm worried Gallo will lose confidence from today. First of all, don't know hype.
Luke WS.
I'm not sure he's going to lose confidence. I mean, it is tough when you get to a new team and you don't have success right away. Everybody wants to be successful, right out of the gate. But he's a guy who's a 3 true outcomes guy. We said that, right? I mean, he strikes out. He did that twice tonight. He walks. He did that tonight. And he hits home runs. That's probably coming soon, especially when we get back to the Bronx. I tell you what, I can't wait to see these guys homer in the Bronx. There is nothing more fun to me than seeing upper deck home runs. Maybe like a really fun, exciting triple with the bases loaded that clears the bases, or an inside the park home run. Those are great. Grand slams are awesome. But an upper deck home run, especially at Yankee Stadium, where it really frames the ball nice. You can see it heading out, and you know it's going to be in the upper deck. I love watching those, and I think we're going to see some mammoth shots. We might see Joey Gallo go up there in the Russell Branyan territory, where he goes up into those luxury boxes like the 4th deck. We got another super dono here from the Earl of Demise, calling me the Big Lewandowski. I love it.
Feared by man and fiend alike. It's the Earl of Demise.
He says, the one guy that hasn't been corrupted by Marcus Timms is the guy that hit the absolute bomb. Hey, look, I am going to say that despite the Yankees finally adding a couple of lefties, this was not a great offensive performance. And it is imperative that the Yankees change up their hitting philosophy in the winter. It's looking like they might go out and try and sign Seager. The fact that they didn't try and trade for a shortstop tells me they'll stick with Glaber for the rest of the year. And then this winter, maybe you can move Voit. No rush to move him right now while he's hurt. Maybe he can come back and have a really hot run at the end of the season. and then you move him. Apparently they tried to move him and they weren't liking the offers they were getting back for him. And so, the fact that he's tradable now, it allows you to move DJ back to first base and move Gleyber Torres back to second base. And then you've got room to sign Seager. Now, I will say this, too. I'm really liking what Rougned Odor has been giving us lately from that second base spot. Today he played third base. I think he should do that more. I think that him being more versatile in the field will get him more at-bats. He didn't look good at third. He bobbled. I think it was his only chance, and he bobbled it. But, it is what it is. He's hit the ball a lot better. He had a base hit tonight. He's been hitting home runs. So I would keep Rougned Odor. The THG Wicked 50 Cal says, Rizzo was great. Everyone else, not so much. I disagree there. I think Jameson Taillon was great tonight. Jameson Taillon has been great for, about a month and a half. Felipe Perea says, hello from Brazil. Hello from America. Lori C says, unhinged in the house. Hashtag Rally Rod. Shout out to Unhinged Yankees. Patrick has a great channel. He is my 643DP podcast partner. Patrick has a bright future in this business. He will go as far as he wants to go. And so I urge you all to check out his channel. So, all right, let's get to, so Ryan says, nobody's talking about how good Taillon was. He was throwing strikes. I think he's thrown over the last 2 games, 10 scoreless innings or 11 scoreless innings in a row, something like that. A lot of pitches. He would have had a more efficient outing if he didn't have like a 12 pitch at bat at one point in this game. He was really working somebody. I forget who it was, but he fouled off like 9 or 10 pitches. Will R says, will Nestor transition to a starter? So Nestor Cortez has been excellent as a starter this year. He's been excellent out of the bullpen as well. I would leave him in there as a starter. He's a crafty lefty. He's a mix of, different styles. He'll go sidearm. He'll come 3/4. He'll throw changeups. He'll throw curveballs. He'll throw that fastball 93 and spot it. And that kind of disrupts what the Yankees have in the rotation. I mean, you got Garrett Cole who throws 100. You've got Jameson Taillon throwing 94, 95. When Luis Severino comes back, he's a guy who throws upper 90s. So Nestor Cortez is a nice mix. Jordan Montgomery is also a nice mix. They say at Yankee Stadium you should have lefty hitters and lefty pitchers. We know that the lefty hitters have been mostly absent, but having a couple of lefty pitchers is huge too. Ruben Cruz with the $5 dono. Appreciate that. Love this 6'5" and above outfield. They should be every day as much as possible. They all play good outfield and have lasers for arms. Stanton actually looked pretty good in the outfield today. And he also hustled down the line. So maybe he's just been, holding back so he wouldn't get hurt. The Earl of Demise, once again. You would think Stanton would have wanted to show up his old park. Absolute disappointment in pinstripes and road grays. Jeter laughing at Cashman. Don't know hype. Yeah, it was not the most forward-thinking move. I was super happy about the Stanton move when they got him because, he just came off of 59 home runs. He was having an unbelievable resurgence. He had been good, and then he got hit in the face, and no one really knew what he would be after that. But then he comes back, he wins the MVP, and this was right at the time that JD Martinez was really coming out of the gate strong too. He had adjusted his swing. There was all this talk about swing paths, and Giancarlo made this adjustment, and he hits 59 home runs. He closes stance, and you're thinking, oh my God. And you look at the numbers, and he would have hit like 70 home runs at Yankee Stadium that year. So you're thinking, what in the world is this guy going to do if you hit him either before or after Aaron Judge? What turned out to happen was that it became easier for pitchers to work those guys because it's 2 guys in a row. And then, of course, all the injuries. And now he just looks lost at the plate. Maybe playing the outfield a little bit can kind of get him into a better rhythm of the game. I'm certainly hoping so. It can be tough for guys to pinch hit, and it can be tough to pinch hit 4 times a game, essentially, when you're the DH. Nivakana says, Cortez El Duque 2.0. I really, really feel bad for the youngins on this. Youngins, I sound so old. the youngins who didn't get to see El Duque in his prime. So Orlando Hernandez, when he arrived with the Yankees in 1998, he went 12-4 with a 3.13 ERA. His first game, 7 innings, 1 run against the Rays. And you could tell from the very beginning that he was a crafty veteran. He was not intimidated at all by the Rays or by pitching in Yankee Stadium in front of a pretty packed house, throwing sliders, throwing changeups, a good overhand curveball. Later in his career, he started working in the eephus more. I know A-Rod enjoyed it one time and hit a mammoth home run off of it. But Orlando Hernandez, he was more than just a big leg kick. You've all seen the massive leg kick. Even if you just play MLB The Show, some guys like to use that leg kick for their characters. But he was just he was kind of like Rafael Devers is at the plate, where he's always talking to himself. He was always pulling on his jersey and fidgeting with his hat. He said that he was mimicking Dwight Gooden's, I guess, mannerism, or what is it called? Mannerisms. He was mimicking Dwight Gooden's mannerisms when he was on the mound. But one thing he failed to realize was that Dwight Gooden had done quite a bit of cocaine probably before he went out to pitch. And so, you know, hey, look, all this fidgeting. I mean, he was itching for his fix, man. It's like so, but I loved watching El Duque pitch. He was fantastic. Ruben Cruz says, Stan's struggle is not from left field. If anything, playing left field will ease his mind. He will slump longer, only DHing. I tend to agree. I
wholeheartedly agree.
I should have a button that says I tend to agree, because I don't wholeheartedly agree. His swing is still a mess, but I do think that playing the outfield will keep him more limber. He won't have to take it as easy on his legs because he'll be used to running back and forth. Not only do you have to chase down balls and stuff, but if you get used to running hard to your position, that's something that he needs to do. Don't lollygag to left field when you're running out in between innings. Really give it a good jog. Give it a good, not sprint, but give it a good 75% jog. That's a warm-up for your legs as much as anything else. So he could do that, and then also, you know, being in the rhythm of the game. You know, you've worked up a good sweat. You're not cold sitting on the bench. Somebody said getting paid $25 million to look at an iPad. You know, being in the game makes a big difference. Felipe says El Duque was the ace of aces in the postseason. Let's hear it for El Duque. The Duke. AB says, everyone else just says hi. When SB Games does it, he does it with a $100 dono. SB Games is the man. I don't know what else to say. SB Games is the man. SB Games, I sent you a nice thank you email and wish you a happy birthday. I appreciate everything you do for the channel. Will R says, fun fact, Doc Gooden is a great-grandfather. That's a good reminder that time catches up to all of us. He was a 20-year-old when he won the Cy Young Award, 24-4. I believe I want to say 1.7 something ERA, maybe 1.74. John Garcia says, do you think Garcia will be traded this offseason? I hope you're not related to Davey, because yes, I do. He has just not impressed me in his brief outings this year. He seems to have lost some of his stature as a prospect because the Yankees don't call him up at times that they need a pitcher. Curly Afro, I love that name. Reminds me of Pulp Fiction. Jules didn't really have an afro. It was more of like a Jerry curl. He says, how is Severino and what do you expect from left-handed pitcher Andrew Heaney? So Andrew Heaney comes over from the Angels. I haven't seen him pitch other than when he pitches against the Yankees because he's out west and the games start really late. And generally when I'm flipping through baseball games, it's earlier in the evening when the Yankees have an off day. So full disclosure, I haven't watched a lot of Andrew Heaney. Everything that I've read about him suggests that he's kind of like a crafty middle to back of the rotation guy and more depth than anything. And as for Severino, we saw him throwing a sim game the other day, and I believe that he was going to throw another one, and then he'll probably go on a rehab assignment. I think we'll see him in late August, assuming he doesn't get hurt. McLovin says, I still think that Allen should be in center. I can see that. I mean, Allen's great catch in Tampa Bay was, that was a turning point. If that ball gets by him, maybe the game goes a little different. Maybe the whole series goes a little different. Maybe you don't take 2 out of 3. Earl of Demise says, hire A-Rod for hitting coach, CC for pitching coach. I would have liked Paulie and Coney, but they don't want it. Earl of Demise.
Feared by man and fiend alike. It's the Earl of Demise.
So the fact that they gave out A-Rod's number to Joey Gallo means they're probably not going to retire it. I don't see them retiring it. He did try and sue the team. I don't think he has a good relationship with Brian Cashman. He tends to run his mouth a little bit to the press and things like that. I Eat Grass says $5 dono. Appreciate that. A-Rod is, I don't think he's a good fit with the Yankees organization long term. Let's say that. I do think Matt Blake is doing a nice job as a pitching coach. I like the idea of having like a scientist pitching coach to craft pitches, but I would prefer he be more of like the bullpen coach, more of like the the pitch designer, the guy who's kind of like, I don't know, director of pitching or something like that. But the pitching coach, I think, needs to be somebody who's actually pitched in a big game and worked out of a jam. And for that reason, I think CC Sabathia would be outstanding. I would prefer somebody who maybe, I don't know, is a little bit further, like somebody like Jim Cott, somebody who's a little bit older. Just because there's a lot of old school stuff that, CC learned how to pitch at about 35, 36. He was a power guy up until that point. I want somebody who didn't have great stuff and basically had to learn how to pitch early and be good at it, because that's how you win. You don't win by having everybody throw 100 miles an hour. Shah Dinar says, Crazy Joe Gallo. I believe that is an Irishman reference. Jack Wagner says, Cohn volunteered for a manager interview. Cash seemed to ignore him. Yeah, he had no chance for that. Lori C says, what do you think of Cashman saying Gardy is the center fielder?
It's awful.
That's all I have to say. Derek Q says he's loving the righty-lefty lineup we have now. 100% agree.
Yes, I agree.
Sean Browning. Now, that's a good point. Sean Browning brings up Andy Pettit. Now, Andy Pettit didn't really want to leave Houston while his kids were in high school and things like that. That's why he went back to Houston. But now maybe that they're getting a little bit older, maybe he would be willing to come back into the fold as a pitching coach, because I think, he works with guys as an instructor in spring training. I think he would be an outstanding pitching coach. Eric UI says David Cohn or David Wells. David Wells is, I don't know if he'd be a great pitching coach either. I still don't think David Wells takes life very seriously. I just don't get that impression. I think you need a serious person as a pitching coach. Pitching is too important. You can't go slack on this. You got to work your tail off. You got to understand the pitch crafting, the pitch design, the Matt Blake part of it. But you also have to understand your craft of pitching. It's not always throw as hard as you can. Sometimes it's take a little off, put a little on, move the ball in and out, up and down. To righties, maybe you go hard in, soft away. To lefties, maybe you go soft in, hard away. That type of thing. Curly Afro says, do you think the Panda's career is over in MLB? If there's one thing I've learned, it's never to count out Pablo Sandoval. Brad Jewis says, Andy is a high school coach. Well, that would be a promotion then. ABC says, Cohn is more disciplined than Wells. I agree, 100%. Stuart Matthews says, who has the bigger head, Gallo or Tyone? I actually tweeted that tonight, and I think we got more votes for Tyone. Tyone has a forehead like a drive-in movie theater. Let's see. Vale Bob S says, Mike Messina would be a great fit as well. That's another great point. Mike Messina, I believe, coaches Little League these days in high school. He's also a coach. I think a lot of guys who play in the spotlight just want to get out of the spotlight later on. I think David Cohn loves it, but it is what it is. But we got several votes for Mike Messina. Danny Corner says, how's your day going? And keep up the great work. I'll tell you this, it goes a lot better when the Yankees win.
Ball game over. Yankees win. The Yankees win.
Joe Saban says he would love to see Jamie Moyer as pitching coach. He was very underrated. He pitched well into his 40s, too. I thought he might be pitching at 50. I'm going to end tonight's broadcast a little bit early because I do have a friend over and we're going to hang out for a bit, and I'm anxious to get drinking. So I want to end this with a story about Satchel Paige. Satchel Paige was, I think, the oldest pitcher in Major League Baseball history. He was with the Negro Leagues for a long time. He finally got to the Major Leagues, and he was so good. One day before a game, he went to the opposing team, and he said, "I'm giving up 2 hits today. Who wants him?" And the opposing team all, "Yeah, get out of here, whatever, yeah." Around the 7th inning, he's throwing a no-hitter, and he goes up to the dugout again, and he says, "I'm giving up 2 hits today. Who wants him?" And everybody jumps up. And then one time, he put a pack of cigarettes on the home plate, and he said to the umpire, "That's my strike zone today." That man had balls, and I wish I could have seen him play. All right, guys, Yankees win this one 3-1. I will see you tomorrow. Let's end it one more time with Mr. John Sterling on Anthony Rizzo.
That ball is high. It is far. It is gone.